Listen carefully, because this may save you years of wasted time, broken trust, and shattered peace. There are words, phrases, statements that when spoken, they reveal a truth about a person's character so deep, so dangerous, that you cannot afford to ignore them. When you hear them, you don't argue, you don't explain, you don't stay to negotiate, you leave. Immediately. Because the words people speak in moments of conflict or in moments of conflict are not random. They are windows into their soul. And if you keep excusing those words, if you keep telling yourself, maybe he didn't mean it, or maybe I'm overreacting, you are setting yourself up for the kind of heartbreak that will bleed your spirit dry. Think about it. Every great downfall begins with ignored warning signs. Every betrayal had its whispers before the thunder of destruction came. Every toxic relationship gave you little glimpses of the truth, disguised as small jokes, disguised as passing comments, disguised as careless remarks. But those comments were not careless. They were calculated. They were confessions. They were declarations of who that person truly is when the mask slips. And if you ignore them, you will find yourself bound to a person whose very words are daggers aimed at your soul. I want you to imagine this with me. You are standing in a room, and someone lights a small fire in the corner. You see it, you smell it, you feel the smoke, but you tell yourself, it's just small, it won't spread, it won't hurt me. And before you know it, the fire has consumed the whole room, and you are trapped in the flames. That is exactly what happens when you stay after hearing those words that reveal disrespect, manipulation, and hidden darkness. They seem small at first, but they are fire, and fire left unchecked will burn everything you are. So let me be very direct with you. If he ever says words that diminish your worth, if he ever dares to plant poison in your mind about who you are, if he ever calls you worthless, replaceable, nothing without him, you do not stay. Because the moment a person tells you that your existence depends on their approval, they are attempting to chain your soul. And the more you allow it, the tighter that chain becomes. That is not love, that is control. That is not partnership, that is possession. And listen closely. If he ever says to you, no one else will ever want you, that is the clearest red flag you will ever get. That is not a statement of love, it is a declaration of power. It is a tactic of fear designed to keep you trapped. But let me tell you the truth. Your value is not measured by the acceptance of one person. Your worth is not confined to the cage of his opinion. You are more than his words, more than his rejection, more than his manipulation. The moment he says it, he has already declared that he does not see your true value. And when someone shows you that blindness, do not argue with them. Do not beg them to see. Walk away, because staying will cost you something far greater than leaving ever will. Staying will drain your joy. Staying will crush your spirit. Staying will silence your voice. But leaving will hurt for a moment, but it will save your future. Leaving will sting today, but it will heal tomorrow. Leaving will protect the treasure of your soul from someone who has already confessed through his words that he cannot be trusted to guard it. And don't you dare let pity keep you in chains. Don't you dare believe the lies that say, if I just love him harder, if I just forgive him one more time, he will change. No, words reveal, words expose. Words are not accidents, and the moment he uses his words as weapons against you, you must recognize that you are standing in a battlefield where he does not see you as an ally, but as a target. And the longer you stay on that battlefield, the more wounds you will collect, until you cannot even recognize yourself in the mirror. Let me speak with fire now. If he ever says, you're nothing without me, or you can't survive without me, or you will never find better than me, that is not just arrogance, that is abuse, that is not confidence, that is cruelty. And you do not heal cruelty by tolerating it. You heal cruelty by cutting it off at its root. Because every time you stay after hearing those words, you teach him that it is acceptable to speak death into your life. But the moment you leave, the moment you stand up and declare, I will not be spoken to like this, you teach yourself that your spirit, your dignity, your life is worth protecting. The truth is this: a person's words create worlds, and when his words are filled with belittlement, disrespect, and control, that is the world he will build around you if you remain. But you are not called to live in a prison built by someone else's poison. You are called to rise, to walk, to breathe free. You are called to walk in rooms where your value is seen, where your presence is celebrated, where your soul is nourished, not starved. And don't tell me, but he only said it once. Once is enough, because the mouth speaks what the heart contains. If his heart carries those words, if his tongue can release them, then that seed already lives inside of him. And you must believe what you hear the first time, because the second time will cut deeper. The third time will break you, and by the 10th time you won't even remember who you are anymore. I know some of you are afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of starting over. Afraid of leaving behind the little crumbs of affection he throws your way. But let me tell you, a life built on crumbs is starvation disguised as a meal. You deserve the banquet of peace, not the crumbs of chaos. You deserve the feast of respect, not the scraps of manipulation. And you will never taste that banquet if you keep sitting at a table where the main dish is your own humiliation. So hear me with all the conviction I have. The moment he speaks words that strip you of your dignity, that is the moment you must rise. Do not wait for an apology. Do not wait for him to come to his senses. Do not wait for time to change him. Time does not heal toxic character. It reveals it more clearly. And the longer you stay, the clearer the truth will become, but the weaker you will be to leave. That is why you must act immediately. Because leaving at the first sign is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is strength. It is self-preservation. It is the declaration that your life is too valuable to waste on someone who uses his words as chains. You are not meant to be shackled by the mouth of another. You are meant to stand free, radiant, unbroken. And the only way you can protect that freedom is by refusing to tolerate even one moment of verbal bondage. And let me tell you, silence in the face of disrespect is not patience, it is permission. Every time you remain quiet, when those poisonous words pierce your spirit, you give silent approval to be hurt again. Do not confuse endurance with loyalty. Do not confuse sacrifice with slavery. True loyalty cannot exist in the presence of degradation, because loyalty must be mutual. True sacrifice is not destroying yourself so someone else can stand taller on the ruins of your soul. When he dares to say, "You're too sensitive," after stabbing you with words, that is not him comforting you. That is him dismissing your pain. That is him rewriting reality so he can stay guiltless and you can stay broken. And if you allow those words to take root in your mind, soon you will doubt your own tears, question your own emotions, silence your own cries. That is the strategy of control, to make you mistrust your own voice until his voice is the only one you believe. And if you allow that, you will become a shadow of yourself, a shell of who you once were. Hear me now. Love does not silence you. Love does not make you doubt yourself. Love does not demand that you erase your feelings for the comfort of another. Love does not strip you of voice and dignity. So when you hear those words that accuse you of being too much, simply for having a heart that feels, you must recognize it for what it is, a dismissal of your humanity. And when a person cannot handle your humanity, they do not deserve your presence. Think about the power of words. Empires have risen and fallen on words. Wars have started with words. Peace has been restored with words. Words have built nations and destroyed families. And in your own life, the words you tolerate will determine the life you live. If you surround yourself with voices that tear you down, you will eventually believe you are as small as they say. But if you surround yourself with voices that lift you up, you will discover strength you never knew you had. So why would you keep your soul chained to a voice that speaks curses instead of blessings? If he ever says to you, "You're nothing without me," what he has really confessed is that without controlling you, he is nothing. Understand this deeply. Only an insecure, broken man needs to shrink the woman beside him to feel tall. Only a weak soul seeks to dominate another soul. A strong man does not need to control, he empowers. A man of worth does not belittle, he protects. A man of dignity does not crush your wings, he helps you fly. So the moment he reveals that his power comes from your weakness, you must know that you are standing beside a man who fears your strength more than he loves your spirit. And you cannot spend your life in the prison of another man's insecurity. And let us go deeper still. If he ever says, "No one else will love you the way I do," you must pause and ask yourself, what kind of love is this that bruises instead of heals, that binds instead of frees, that insults instead of honors? For if his love is marked by control, cruelty, and disrespect, then that is not love at all. It is bondage. And if no one else would love you that way, thank God for it. You do not need that kind of love. You do not need that kind of prison. I know the battle you face inside. The tug of fear, the whispers of doubt, the weight of memories that make you want to stay. You think of the good moments, the laughter, the times he was gentle, and you tell yourself, maybe it wasn't that bad. But remember this, the good moments do not erase the poison. They only make it easier to swallow. A smile today does not erase the dagger of yesterday. A gift tomorrow does not undo the curse spoken last night. And if you keep clinging to the fragments of good, you will remain blind to the flood of harm. Listen, love is not meant to confuse. It is not meant to break. It is not meant to destroy your confidence and silence your song. If it is love, it will build, it will heal, it will strengthen. Anything less is not worthy of you. Anything less is a counterfeit, a cheap imitation designed to keep you trapped. And when you know it's counterfeit, you do not negotiate with it. You do not reason with it. You throw it away and protect the treasure of your soul for what is real. If he says, "You can't survive without me," that is not protection. That is prophecy of destruction. That is his wish, not your truth. And the moment those words leave his mouth, you must realize that he has already positioned himself not as your partner, but as your captor. And you must not let yourself live in captivity, because survival without him is not only possible, it will be the very beginning of your healing. And let me tell you this, when a man's words reveal his contempt, it does not matter how much you love him. It does not matter how long you've been with him. It does not matter how many promises he has made. The words he speaks are the clearest evidence of the condition of his soul. And if his soul is poisoned with pride, cruelty, and control, then his tongue will betray him and spit that poison upon you. Do not dismiss that betrayal. Do not excuse it. Do not cover it with your hope, because words are not random. They are the fruit of a root, and the root will always grow into something greater. If he ever looks you in the eye and says, "You'll never be enough," then you must understand he has already made a choice. He has chosen to see lack instead of abundance. He has chosen to highlight your flaws instead of honor your strengths. And let me remind you, what a person chooses to see in you says more about them than it does about you. A blind man cannot appreciate a masterpiece because he cannot see color, and a man blinded by pride, by insecurity, by darkness cannot appreciate the masterpiece that you are. Do not let his blindness convince you that you are anything less than extraordinary. Now hear me. If he says, "You're lucky to have me," pay close attention, because in that moment, he is not affirming his value, he is demeaning yours. He is telling you that your worth is measured by his presence, as if his existence is a gift too precious for you to deserve. But real love does not belittle. Real love does not parade itself like a trophy. Real love does not exalt one while humiliating the other. Real love humbles both, lifts both, honors both. So if he believes he is a prize while you are disposable, you must recognize that he is not a partner. He is a parasite, feeding off your devotion while stripping away your confidence. And what about when he says, "If you leave me, you'll regret it"? That is not affection, that is intimidation. That is not love, that is threat. That is the language of fear, not the language of care. And anyone who tries to hold you hostage with fear has already declared that he cannot hold you with love. You do not belong to fear. You do not exist to live shackled to threats. The moment fear becomes the foundation of your relationship, love has already left the room. And you must leave too. I need you to picture this. Imagine a cage of golden bars. It looks beautiful from a distance. It shines, it glitters, it even feels secure. But it is still a cage. And many of you are trapped in relationships that look golden on the outside. Moments of affection, smiles in public, occasional words of praise. But inside, it is still captivity. His words are the bars that hold you. His phrases, "You're nothing without me. No one else will love you. You'll never make it without me." Those are the bars of the cage. But let me remind you, a cage, no matter how beautiful, is still a prison. And your soul was not created for captivity. Your soul was created for freedom. And let's speak about the cost of ignoring these words. If you stay, those words will not remain words. They will become your reality. When someone tells you long enough that you are worthless, you begin to feel worthless. When someone reminds you constantly that no one else will love you, you begin to fear no one ever will. And soon, you begin to live like a prisoner who has lost the desire to escape, because you believe the lies of your captor more than the truth of your own worth. That is why you must leave immediately. Because the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to recognize the lies. Do not wait until your confidence is shattered. Do not wait until your voice is silenced. Do not wait until you no longer recognize the reflection in the mirror. Leave while you still remember who you are. Leave while your strength can still carry you. Leave while your spirit still has enough fire to walk away from the ashes. And do not let pity hold you back. Do not say, "But he had a hard childhood," or, "But he's under stress," or, "But he didn't mean it." A wounded man has no right to wound you. A broken man has no excuse to break you. Pain is never a justification for abuse. Struggle is never a license to enslave. If he is hurting, he can seek healing, but you are not his punching bag. You are not his outlet. You are not his scapegoat. And if he chooses to take his pain out on you, then you must choose to protect your soul from his poison. Now let me go deeper. If he ever says, "I can replace you anytime," that is not love, that is arrogance. That is not devotion, that is disrespect. And the moment he devalues you in such a way, he has shown you that he does not see you as a treasure, but as a possession. And possessions can be discarded. But you are not a possession, you are not an object, you are not replaceable, you are unique, you are irreplaceable, you are one of a kind. So when someone speaks of you as if you are disposable, you must rise up and remind yourself, I am not disposable, I am destiny. And destiny does not beg to be kept by someone who does not see its value. Remember this truth, leaving is not losing. Leaving is winning back yourself. Leaving is not failure. Leaving is faith in your future. Leaving is not weakness. Leaving is walking in wisdom. Every step away from words that bind is a step toward life that heals. And though it may break your heart to walk, though it may feel like death to let go, I promise you this, the grave of a toxic relationship is the birthplace of your resurrection. The end of that chapter is the beginning of your freedom. Do not let fear tell you otherwise. Fear will whisper, you'll be alone. Fear will whisper, no one else will love you. Fear will whisper, you cannot survive. But fear is a liar. Fear has no authority over your future. Fear only survives when you feed it with your obedience. The moment you refuse to obey fear, the moment you walk in spite of fear, you discover that freedom was waiting all along. And I declare this to you now. Better to be alone in peace than to be together in torment. Better to walk solitary with dignity than to walk crowded with chains. Better to spend a season in silence than a lifetime in suffocation. Because peace is the soil where your destiny grows. Peace is the foundation where your soul can flourish. And without peace, you cannot truly live. And hear me well. When you stay after hearing the words that cut your soul, you are training yourself to live on poison. You are teaching your spirit to adapt to pain that was never meant to be normal. You are convincing yourself that suffering is love, when in truth, suffering in the name of cruelty is not love at all. It is bondage. And the longer you drink from that poisoned cup, the weaker you will become, until one day you cannot tell the difference between love and abuse. That is why the moment his tongue spits fire that burns your worth, you must rise and run. If he says, "You owe me for everything I've done," you must stop and recognize the trap. Gratitude is not a debt. Love is not a ledger. Kindness is not a contract. Anyone who uses their past deeds as chains around your neck is not serving you. They are enslaving you. True love gives freely without keeping score. True care sacrifices without demanding repayment. But a man who constantly reminds you of what you him has already declared that he sees you not as a partner, but as property. And you must never stay where your humanity is reduced to a transaction. And if he ever dares to say, "No one else will put up with you," listen closely. What he has revealed is not your insufficiency, but his own cruelty. That statement is not truth, it is manipulation. It is an attempt to isolate you, to make you believe you are unworthy of love, so that you will cling to the scraps he gives. But let me break the chains of that lie right now. You are not difficult to love, you are not a burden, you are not too much. You are simply too much for a man who is too small to handle your greatness. Do not shrink yourself to fit his insecurity. And think about this, words are seeds. When he plants words of doubt, words of fear, words of belittlement, those seeds grow in the soil of your mind. And if you let them stay, they will grow into trees of despair that shadow every corner of your life. You will start to believe you are incapable. You will start to believe you are unworthy. You will start to believe you are powerless. But those are not truths. They are weeds planted by a careless tongue, and the only way to stop them from choking your destiny is to uproot them the moment they are spoken. Do not water them with your silence. Do not nurture them with your patience. Cut them out by leaving immediately. Now let me remind you, your life is too sacred to be lived as a rehearsal for someone else's drama. Your days are too precious to be wasted listening to the soundtrack of insult and humiliation. Your spirit is too powerful to be bound to someone who uses words as weapons instead of blessings. So when he says anything that diminishes, anything that controls, anything that curses, you must see it as an alarm. And alarms are not meant to be ignored. Alarms are meant to wake you up and push you into action. And perhaps some of you are saying right now, but what if I leave and he changes? Hear me. If his words already cut your soul, it is not your responsibility to wait for change. It is not your duty to endure torment until he learns respect. Growth is his responsibility, not your punishment. You are not his savior. You are not his teacher. And you are not his mirror to reflect back what he refuses to see in himself. Your only duty is to guard your heart, protect your spirit, and preserve your dignity. And if he says, "You're nothing without me," let me flip that truth. The reality is, he is terrified of who you would become without him. He knows that once you step out of his shadow, once you leave behind his words, once you shake off his manipulation, you will rise higher than he ever imagined. His fear is not that you are nothing without him. His fear is that you are everything without him. And that is why he uses words to keep you small. But your destiny cannot be caged by his insecurity unless you agree to stay in the cage. I want you to imagine this moment you wake up tomorrow and you decide to leave. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will sting. Yes, there will be tears. But then, slowly, a peace begins to settle over you. Slowly, the air feels lighter. Slowly, your voice begins to return. Slowly, your confidence begins to rise. That is the gift of walking away. Pain at first, but power in the end. Tears at first, but freedom after. Darkness at first, but light breaking through. And every day that passes, you will thank yourself that you left when you did. But if you stay, the opposite happens. The longer you remain, the more his words will eat at your soul. The more you will doubt yourself. The more you will silence yourself. The more you will surrender the fire of who you are just to survive the cold of his cruelty. And one day you will look in the mirror and realize, you are alive, but you are not living. And that is no way to exist. And let me speak into your heart with all the urgency of truth. When you hear a man speak words that stab your dignity, those words are not just sounds, they are signals. They are signals sent from the depths of his spirit, signals that reveal who he truly is when the mask is pulled away. And if those signals are filled with venom, if they are laced with cruelty, if they drip with pride and domination, then you must understand this clearly. You have been given a warning. And warnings are not meant to be debated. Warnings are not meant to be rationalized. Warnings are meant to be acted upon. If he says, "You're nothing special," pause and let the weight of that statement settle in. Because in that moment, he is declaring that he does not see you. He does not honor you. He does not cherish you. What he sees in you is not treasure, not value, not greatness. He sees a body, a convenience, a placeholder. But you are not a placeholder. You are not an option. You are not a shadow waiting for his light. You are light yourself. And any man who cannot see that has already confessed that his eyes are blind and his heart is empty. And if he says, "No one else would tolerate you," understand that he is trying to convince you that abuse is your only option. He is trying to lower the bar of love so that you will accept mistreatment as the ceiling of your worth. But the truth is this: your worth is not defined by what one man is willing to tolerate. Your worth is eternal, your value is immeasurable, your beauty is unshakable. You are not meant to be tolerated. You are meant to be honored. And if his lips cannot form words of honor, then you must not let his presence linger in your life. Some of you listening right now, you know the exact words that were spoken to you. They echo in your memory even as I speak. They haunt you, they play in your mind, they make you second guess who you are. Let me break that chain right now. Those words were lies. They were daggers meant to cripple your confidence. They were weapons of control. But lies only have power when you believe them. Weapons only wound when you allow them to pierce. So the moment you rise and declare, "I will not believe these words. I will not stay where I am dishonored. I will not let my destiny be diminished by the voice of one who cannot see me," that is the moment the chain begins to break. And don't you dare confuse cruelty with passion. Some men will insult you, then hold you, and say, "This is just how I am. This is how I love." But that is not love. That is abuse disguised as intensity. That is chaos dressed as affection. That is pain pretending to be passion. Real passion builds you. Real passion lifts you. Real passion speaks life, not death. So if his fire burns you instead of warming you, that is not love. It is destruction. And you cannot keep dancing in flames hoping one day they will stop burning. And hear this: if he says, "Without me you are nothing," then he has revealed his greatest fear. His fear is that one day you will wake up, realize your power, and walk away. His fear is not that you are nothing. His fear is that you are everything, and that he will no longer be able to control you once you see it. That is why he tries to blind you with words. That is why he tries to cage you with lies. Because if you ever see yourself clearly, if you ever see your worth, if you ever see your strength, you will never stay another day. I want you to grasp this truth. Leaving is not abandonment of love. Leaving is an act of love toward yourself. Leaving is not betrayal. Leaving is liberation. Leaving is not a sign of weakness. Leaving is the boldest declaration of strength. Because when you leave, you are declaring, I love myself too much to stay in a place where I am hated. I value my soul too much to remain where it is trampled. I believe in my future too much to let it be buried under the weight of another's cruelty. Yes, walking away may break your heart, but staying will break your spirit. And a broken heart can heal, but a broken spirit takes years to recover. Do not sacrifice your spirit for the illusion of companionship. Do not trade your peace for the shadow of partnership. Do not surrender your voice for the sake of a name, a title, or a ring. If his words are weapons, then the foundation of your union is already war. And no matter how beautiful the house may look, if it is built on war, it will collapse. So I ask you, why wait for collapse? Why wait for destruction? Why wait until you are buried under the ruins of what could have been? Leave before the fall. Leave before the fire consumes everything. Leave while you still have strength to walk. Leave while you can still feel the pulse of your own destiny calling you. Because if you wait too long, you may wake up one day and realize that your best years were spent defending yourself from the very man who was supposed to protect you. And let me speak plainly. If he says anything that denies your dignity, anything that chains your soul, anything that makes you feel smaller than the greatness that burns inside of you, you must see it for what it is. It is not just a word. It is a prophecy of the life he will give you if you stay. And you must decide. Do you want to live in the prophecy of his poison, or in the promise of your freedom? The choice is yours. And the moment you choose yourself, the moment you walk away from his words, you will feel the air change, the chains fall, the fire in your spirit return. You will realize that leaving him was not the end of love. It was the beginning of love. Because it was the first time you truly chose to love yourself. And so I say this to you with every ounce of conviction in my spirit. Do not waste another moment trying to convince someone of your worth, who has already shown you he cannot see it. Do not give your loyalty to lips that speak venom. Do not tie your future to a tongue that tears you down. Because the words of a man are the window to his soul, and when that window reveals darkness, you must not stay to decorate it. You must leave and step into the light that was always meant for you. Leaving is not weakness, it is wisdom. Walking away is not failure, it is freedom. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it is survival. And when you stand up, when you walk out, when you declare that no man will define your destiny with curses or chains, you will feel the strength of heaven itself backing you. You will feel peace returning, fire reviving, clarity shining. So if he ever says, "You are nothing without me," prove him wrong by leaving and becoming everything you were created to be. If he ever says, "No one else will love you," silence that lie by stepping into the love that flows when you honor yourself. If he ever says, "You can't survive without me," walk out boldly and thrive in ways he never imagined. Your life is too short to be wasted in the prison of poisoned words. Your future is too great to be trapped by the smallness of a broken man's tongue. Your soul is too priceless to be bought and sold by lies. Leave immediately when those words are spoken and never look back. Because on the other side of that exit is the life you deserve, the peace you crave, the freedom you were born for. Now rise, walk, and never again allow the voice of another to drown out the truth of your worth.